Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Blue Tron, back with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. So, today we're playing a deck that I didn't think I was going to be playing when I woke up today. I had originally workshopped a list that utilized a whole bunch of the Predaplant stuff with this small Edge Imp engine in order to get the most value possible out of Frightfur Patchwork, and don't worry, you'll still get a chance to look at that abomination someday in the near future. But while building that deck, I stumbled on something that was a lot more interesting. So let's jump into Deck Edit and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's the list that we've settled on. Now, we here at 10-Minute Testing believe trying too hard is an art form, and every day we try to use the canvas of YGO Pro to paint you the most try-hard picture possible. Now you can see there's a lot of things happening in this deck, but all of them are to make the most use out of Ultimaya Tzolkin, an incredibly powerful card that can only be special summoned when you have a tuner and a non-tuner that are both above level 5 and the same level on your side of the field. You get rid of those, out comes Tzolkin. You set a card, out comes a Synchro Dragon from your extra deck, regardless of its summoning conditions. Now, we usually get, and by usually I mean 100% of the time, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, and this is a very popular way to make Crystal Wing in the current meta. However, a lot of these decks that are very good at making Tzolkin and Crystal Wing are very bad at using Tzolkin afterwards. Like, Tzolkin has this weird built-in protection, but if they get over Crystal Wing or like figure out a way to get rid of it or give you a kaiju, suddenly Tzolkin is a sitting duck. So this deck aims to make as much use out of Tzolkin as possible by using the fact that he is actually technically level 12 and therefore a perfect target for Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon as fodder with Predaplants to do just that. Now, in order to make Tzolkin as consistently as possible and have Predaplants as often as possible, these are the cards we're playing. Let me walk you through them. First, we have a whole bunch of Destiny heroes that are really bad, and then 3 copies of Malicious. Obviously, Malicious is incredibly good. It plus Coral Dragon represents about 100% of the time how you're making Tzolkin. However, we can't play Destiny Draw, which is a very good card, if we're only playing Malicious. So, I've also got 3 copies of Plasma and 2 copies of Dogma in here. I picked these 2 because they're also good with Allure of Darkness, with Trade-In. They're also fodder for Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. They have their pluses and minuses. They can still be of use to the deck, even if they're not going to be summoned by their own effect ever. Next, we have our Predaplants, 3 copies of Spinodionea. This card is ridiculous. How does it eat? It has a fly trap on its back and a mouth. This card is really good, actually, a new release for the Predaplant archetype. When it's summoned, it targets a monster your opponent controls, puts a Predaplant counter on it, which means that it becomes level 1. If it attacks a monster that is lower level than it, after damage calc, you get to special summon a Predaplant from your deck. The one you're bringing out is Sundu Kigai. You may remember this from the previous version of the deck, the only monster that made the cut. Predaplant has this weird problem where all of its support does weird, stupid, shitty things that don't play well with itself, except for Sundu Kigai, which does exactly what you want 100% of the time, extends your plays. This plus a Ultimaya Tzolkin represents a Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. It also helps unbrick hands that have like copies of Plasma in it. You can normal summon this guy and make a Greedy Venom in a pinch. Next, we have 3 copies of Armageddonite. This guy is incredibly good in this deck. This enables most of your combos. Him plus a Malicious represents a copy of Ultimaya Tzolkin, because you can get Plague Spreader to the grave. Him plus a Red Resonator in hand represents an Ultimaya Tzolkin because you can send a Malicious. Just really enables basically every combo in the deck. 2 copies of Red Resonator along with 3 Resonator Call. This is our target for Resonator Call. I really want to go down to 1, but I know that's too greedy. Opening this plus Armageddonite is too good. 1 copy of Plague Spreader Zombie. This card's incredible in any deck that plays Armageddonite. I don't need to tell you about it. Next, we have our Draw Suite. 3 Allures, 3 Trade-Ins, 3 Destiny Draws, 2 Hand Destructions. I know what you're thinking. Hand Destruction is terrible, and you're right. However, we have to figure out some way to get rid of like these Plague Spreader Zombies and these Maliciouses that kind of end up in our hand a lot, and a lot of the time I'm not losing sleep over discarding copies of Destiny Hero Plasma. 2 Instant Fusions. It's our target for Chimera Rafflesia because it's a fusion card technically, but more importantly, it extends your plays, lets you go into sweet rank 4s. Norden plus level 2 tuners is also pretty good. Next, we have 3 copies of Resonator Call, 3 copies of Polymerization, and 1 Foolish Burial. In the extra, we got a Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon. We got the new Predaplant. This is Spell Speed 2 Negation. Incredibly good. 1 copy of Chimera Rafflesia. Pretty good for hands that can't do anything else. 1 copy of Destiny End Dragoon. If I ever summon this, I will eat my foot. 2 copies of bad Destiny heroes. Dystopia Guy and Deadly Guy help unbrick hands that have like Plasma and Dogma and a Polymerization in them. They're an all-right turn 1 play. Not great by any means, but not terrible. 1 Norden for instant fusions. The smallest Tzolkin package possible. 1 Tzolkin, 1 Crystal Wing, 1 Coral Dragon, and a Beals, because we can actually go into Beals anyway as well. Then the smallest rank 4 engine package possible. We got Utopia, Utopia the Lightning, Castel, and Abyss Dweller. So with that, let's jump into the games and see what happens. So for our first game, we're playing against some kind of weird pendulum strategy that probably tries to make Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon a lot of the time. It's got like Magispectors and Blue Eyes in it and Level Eaters, so you know there's some unfair shenanigans happening here. Speaking of unfair shenanigans, we've opened really well. A Resonator Call means that we get a red Resonator plus an Armageddonite, which represents, of course, an Ultimate Tzolkin. We're going to use Armageddonite to send a Malicious, banish that Malicious for another Malicious, Synchro into a Coral Dragon, special summon a Tzolkin, set a card, and then make a Crystal Wing. So I deviate from the plan a little bit here because I draw a Foolish Burial and I go, oh, that represents Beals as well. So I'll go ahead and make another Malicious, go ahead and set this Foolish Burial in order to make Crystal Wing, activate the Foolish Burial to send a Plague Spreader, use Plague Spreader to special summon itself, and then go into a Beals. So this is a pretty good turn one. I would have liked it a little better if we could also make Greedy Venom Starve Dragon, but that's like a best case scenario. That would have to be like, this is a Predaplant and this is a Polymerization, but you know, obviously we can't get that greedy. This is pretty much good enough. He's going to summon Raccoon and get a card, then use Pendulum Dragon to get a Dragon Pit. I figure that's really slow, and I have no problem just blowing the hell out of him. We're going to start by hand destructioning, trying to draw a Sundew Kigai to represent lethal, and wouldn't you know it, we get it. We're going to go ahead and go into a Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon, and that's the end of the game. So one thing I like about this deck is even the bad hands are okay. Like, this represents a brick. It's probably the worst hand I drew over all of the games that I played. However, it still makes Greedy Venom Starve Dragon, and we still have ways to draw cards so we can draw into something better. Instant Fusion, really good here. We draw into a Destiny Draw, which is just about the best thing we could have possibly drawn. Lets us get these terrible Dogmas out of our hand, and unfortunately, we draw into a Plague Spreader. So I'm like, well, I don't really know what to do with this. We can use Kigai to send the Plague Spreader and make a Rafflesia. Then we can bring Plague Spreader back, Instant Fusion and Norden just as a material, and then use Norden's effect in order to get Sundew Kigai back. Now this allows us to go into an 8-star synchro called Beals. So actually this turned out pretty good for us. We ended up with a Beals and a Rafflesia. Our opponent is playing Ritual Beasts and normal summons Rampengu. Don't know why you would normal summon Canahawk here, because you have a Lara in hand, so why wouldn't you just let it die and then get it back with Lara and make Canahawk shenanigans occur? But hey, whatever, you know, what do I know? Our opponent is just going to pass back turn. I figure one of these has got to be Ritual Beast like Steeds, but obviously it's not. We're going to use Dionea, try and go all in here. I try and figure out a way for lethal. I can't. I'm like, well, this way gets me Sundew Kigai and lets me extend plays for the rest of the turn and like make things he can't get over. So I'm going to try and do that now by using Sundew Kigai's effect to Fusion Summon, and wouldn't you know it, there's a Solemn Notice. So now he's at 200 life points. I feel okay because I don't think Ritual Beast actually has a very good way of getting over Beals, and even if I'm just destroying one card a turn with Beals, I'd probably end up winning. He's going to go ahead and Lara, get back Apelio, use that to go into Mr. Apelio. I don't know why this is the line he's chosen. Going to go ahead and set this Chimera Rafflesia face down and then destroy it. This means I get a fusion card from my deck to my hand during my standby phase. I'm going to grab a Poly just for shits and giggles, I guess, because I already have lethal. I'm going to go ahead and go to battle phase. I just normal summon one guy because I figure if he tags out, I'll just need to have access to a third attacker, and he does do that. Here come the entire Goon Squad. I'll beat up the 2000 defense one, and that's the end of the game. So I've included this last game mostly because it tilted me into the sun. We've opened exceptionally poorly, but we can make some things occur. I feel okay about it. He plays Cupidity and Dimensional Alchemist, and I go, oh god, I'm going to lose this game to Gren Maju de Iza, aren't I? I'm going to go ahead and Armageddon Knight, sending Plague Spreader, then use Plague Spreader to get Coral Dragon, then I'll instant fuse into a rank 4. I'm like, Abyss Dweller maybe? I don't know. What else could I do? So I'm going to Coral Dragon one of these terrible plasmas away in order to destroy a card. Then I'll start attacking, and wouldn't you know it, here's Battle Fader. So I'm feeling alright. He's going to go ahead and use Pot of Cupidity right off the bat. Abyss Dweller, not really knowing what he's doing. And, oh, wouldn't you know it, one of the cards he drew, Gren Maju de Iza. So he's going to blow up a card that is not Coral Dragon. And I'm like, why would you do that? Okay, sure. I guess I'll use Coral Dragon's effect in order to destroy Gren Maju de Iza. He flips Macrocosmos, doesn't do anything, that's fine. I got Spinodinea. I'm like, okay, well, this represents a Kigai, which is alright. Let's start attacking, and here's a Scapegoat. I'm like, okay. Well, that's fine. So I can destroy 2 of them, then use Kigai to go into Rafflesia and destroy a third. In reality, I should have gone into the new Predaplant fusion so I could have instant speed effect removal, because otherwise I lose to exactly this draw, Gren Maju de Iza, and Jesus Christ, unfortunate as hell, but it happened. So we're back with a deck. That last one aside, I was really impressed. This feels to me like the Destiny Hero deck that's very good at making Tzolkin over and over again, but sort of shores up the exclusive weakness of that deck, which was Tzolkin is not very powerful if it's the only card on your side of the field. I felt including the Predaplants didn't slow down the deck in any meaningful capacity. I thought it really allowed us a bunch of ability to make things like Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon, make Rafflesias in hands that otherwise would brick. I really liked it. So I'm excited to see if this deck becomes more powerful in the coming weeks. I'm excited to see if they release some more Predaplant support that would make the deck faster or more potent, and really, I'm just excited to play it some more. So that's that. I hope you enjoy me trying to squeeze every last ounce of playability out of an obviously pushed archetype. I hope you enjoy watching one in what is sure to be a series of 10 million Tzolkin videos, and most of all, I hope you just enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure to give me a like, a comment, or a subscribe. It really helps me out, and if you want to see me play the decks that I make on this show on stream, I'm on Twitch every Tuesday and Thursday from 9:30 a.m. to noon. Link is in the description. Finally, if you want to see a certain deck or archetype played on a future episode of this show, let me know in the comments section below and I will do my best to accommodate you. Otherwise, I will see you on Monday.